Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here again with another review for you. This time I'm going to be talking about episode 26 of season 1 of Young Justice called Auld Acquaintance. Now I know we all had huge expectations for this episode, what with it being the season 1 finale and all, and man oh man were we not disappointed. So let's jump right into it because we got loads to talk about. The first thing I have to talk about, of course, is the twist. That Red Arrow was not only the mole, as we learned last episode, he was a clone as well. And I love this because it shows, one, that the Young Justice writing team does have an overall arcing story in mind for the series. And secondly, I just love the simple fact that even though it's the season 1 finale, they're still throwing plot twists at me. They don't leave everything tied up in a neat little package. But we're going to talk some more about that later. Another thing I liked is that, and was surprised by, was the fact that Red Tornado having an alternate human form body was actually extremely significant to how this episode and the finale played out. Back when it turned up a few episodes ago, I thought it might just be them taking a step to go down some of the stories that they have with his secret identity in the comics that, frankly, I just really didn't care about in the comics at all, and was even less interested in seeing in the show. Thankfully, they did not do that, and it was very much to the show's benefit. Okay, but let's move on to the main crux of this episode, and that is the fight between Young Justice and the Justice League. Now, I'm pretty sure we all saw this coming, and really, this is what we wanted to see happen, and it was done extremely well. Okay, let me try that again. One of the things in life is that younger people will eventually have to take over for the older generation. The Justice League knows this. The Young Justice guys knows. That's why the team is such a big deal. And here we see that them clashing, and of course it's all because of Vandal Savage and evil villains and all that. But again, it's the symbolism here. Just like in real life, young people and older people clash. Now, usually this doesn't involve a fight with superpowers on a space station out in the middle of on an asteroid field somewhere. Unfortunately, because life would sure be a lot more interesting if that's how it was done. And cool. And most of us could probably get away with walking around wearing capes. But the thing is, just like in real life, older people at some point need to realize that their time is passing, and that their ways of doing things may not necessarily be the way things are going to be needed to be done in the future. And on the other hand, you have young people who need to realize that just because the ideas they have are new does not mean that their ideas are better, and that there are good reasons why the older generation did the things the way they did. And this all becomes, I think, really clear in the Superman and Superboy and Miss Martian versus Martian Manhunter fight. The three main people who I think are most strongly tied to their mentors duking it out. And, I like the fact that it was really made clear that as good as they are, Superboy and Robin are just not ready to take down Batman and Superman. Now, Miss Martian is able to pull it off, and you can kind of make a big lot of hay about why she was able to do that. I don't really have anything to say about that, honestly. I think it was just more of a case of that was what needed to happen plot-wise, and the fact that really Martian Manhunter isn't really related to her. Whatever on that one. But going back to Robin and Superboy, the thing with them is, out of all the characters on Young Justice, it is Robin and Superboy, now not necessarily this version of Superboy, of course, who have the longest history as characters in the comics. And I think them being the ones who are most struggling for this. I think that was really important. But anyway, I like how, as good as they were, as talented as they were, as hard as they fought, they weren't able to defeat either one of their quote-unquote mentors until they learned to work together. And I think that is also very symbolic. Because when you are that age, you're all in a big, huge hurry to want to take over from the adults because you know how to do things and blah, 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 blah. And that's just a normal part of being a teenager. But the thing is, even at that age, as talented as you are, you have to realize that you're just not there yet. You do have to grow. You do have to learn. And that's something that Superboy and Robin do. They realize we can't take them separately. But if we work together, we can emerge victorious here. I'm always reminded of that the old DC Comics team-up book that they had, which was called World's Finest. And there was one story like that. I honest to God cannot remember what it was called, what it was, or what it was about. But there was this really terrible situation, and Superman went to get Batman for help, and Batman was, being a big dick and telling Superman to, screw this, I can handle this myself. I don't need you. And Superman stops and asks him, like, look, Bruce, I need you on this. Help me. We can once again be the world's finest team. And really, what else could you call a collaboration between Superman and Batman? And here, the collaboration between Superboy and Robin is enough that they can defeat Batman. And even take down Superman. That just shows how much potential both of them have, and what can happen when they do work together. It shows us very clearly that yes, they're young, yes, they're inexperienced, but if there is any doubt in your mind that these two someday can stand not only and be the equals of Superman and Batman, but possibly even surpass them, well, here's the proof that you are wrong. And I think that is just absolutely wonderful. Because that is how it should be. Every generation should strive to try and be better than the one before it, to surpass those who came before them. Not by denigrating the people who came before them, but by taking the lessons that they have imparted to them and becoming better people for that, and using that knowledge, that skill, that power that they gained from their mentors, from the people who have impacted their lives positively, and going out and spreading that to the world. That's what we should all do in real life, and that is what both Young Justice and the Justice League are all about. Let's talk about something else. Okay. Oh yes, let's talk a little bit about Let's talk about one fight that we didn't get to see, which of course was Zatanna versus Dr. Fate. Well, she tried. Zatanna did try to rescue her father, and she even has that great line about how she can defeat Dr. Fate, but she cannot save her father from Dr. Fate. And again, this being the season finale, you don't really expect a lot of these in just something in 22 minutes, these huge character moments. But right there, clearly spelled out, is the thing that is absolutely and utterly tormenting Zatanna. She's managed to put it to the back of her mind, put on a brave face and is going out there and doing hero things. But that every time her thoughts turn in that dark direction, every time she has those moments where the things we all try not to think about when we're lying in bed at night trying to go to sleep creep up on her, that's what is popping into her mind. So yeah, and I gotta give Lacey Chabert again major props for her handling of Zatanna. She is just really knocking that character out of the park. Okay, so I've talked and gushed about the things that I liked about this episode. I need to take a moment, I think, to talk about a few things that I did not like. The first is the whole Vandal Savage's speech about how having the Justice League around is interfering with the ways of survival of the fittest and ultimately holding humanity back. One, this doesn't really sound like any version of Vandal Savage that I've ever read. And it feels like a really weird thing that all these other members of the Light would actually get behind. Now, I'm sure they all kind of have their individual goals, Queen Bee wanting to rule those two countries and all this other stuff. But this just doesn't really ring true for me. It just feels like this is a very vague kind of goal. And yeah, I just wasn't feeling that. And also, it just seemed really, really convenient that Queen Mara and all those other folks were able to just magically whip up a cure so fast. I mean, kind of Aqualad goes like, wow, it was really great that they were able to come up with this cure so fast. It was like, okay, acknowledging the flaw in your story does not make the flaw go away. Now, look, I realize that even the best stories sometimes have to kind of stretch believability a little bit in order to get the job done. And I don't begrudge them that too much, but I feel I would be doing you a disservice as a reviewer if I did not point this out. So, let's put the very small bad things back aside, and let's talk about a few more good things. One, hey, there was lots of kissing, I especially got a kick out of the fact that, yeah, it looks like next season we are definitely going to be seeing Artemis and Kid Flash as a couple. No surprise there, but it was just really did feel like a great payoff, and it was something that was earned in terms of storytelling. And I definitely did get a kick out of the fact that there's Robin and Zatanna are no longer even going to are maybe going in that direction. Now, quite interesting that there's still about a 2 or 3 year age difference between those two. But hey, you know what? It's cool. They're both mature enough to handle that. The kiss between Rocket and Aqualad kind of felt like a case of pair the spares, as TV Tropes puts it. But again, what the hell, right? They both, Aqualad's had kind of a tough year, so he at least deserves a kiss from a cute girl. Is it going to go anywhere next season? Well, next season starts next week, so I guess we'll find out. One thing, we finally had Superman take that moment to give Superboy the acknowledgement that he's been craving the entire season. It reminded me a lot of a scene from the comics where Superman gives Superboy a Kryptonian name, Kano, with a K, and Superboy literally flies off, yelling his new name in complete and utter joy. Now, this was far more subdued than it was in the comics, but it was still such a great moment, and it was really nice to see that Superman has finally emerged from the feelings, the ambiguous feelings he has towards Superboy. So hopefully we'll see some more of them kind of bonding next season. But anyway, so we've got a few loose ends that I'm sure are going to be coming up next season. The search for the real Roy Harper, and what happened during the 16 hours that several members of the Justice League were under Vandal Savage's control. Folks, in terms of theories, honestly, I've got nothing. And you know what? I don't mind that. If this is something that the show is doing that is completely independent of anything we've ever seen in the comics, great. I love the stories from the comics. I love it when shows draw from the comics. I loved it when the Teen Titans did their own riff on the Judas Contract. But I always want to see and watch or read or whatever you want to say a good new story. And I have the feeling that with season 2, the Young Justice team is definitely not going to disappoint us. All the elements that to make the next season be just as good, maybe even better than this one, are all in place, and I have absolute faith in the creative team of this show. So, here's one to an excellent season and some of the best written superhero cartoons that we have seen in several years. I hope this show has a great long run. Anyway, my time is almost up. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and I will see you next time